Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. So, as Richard was explaining, I actually have two roles within JLL. One side, I'm Corporate Solutions Development Director. So what does that mean? I know that's a loaded title. So I work with large corporate occupiers. So my big clients are like Google, it's Facebook, it's LinkedIn. And I work with them on developing strategies all across Asia. And then the other side of the business I work on actually is in PropTech, in the innovation side. So as Richard mentioned, I lead the Liquid Lab program, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I think that's really exciting. And the technology and innovation is really changing where we are and where we're going in the future. So today I want to talk to you about smart cities. So there's been a rise of smart cities. You pick up a newspaper, you'll see constant articles about smart cities. The number of governments declaring their intention to have a smart city is staggering. Over 1,000 cities globally have declared some sort of smart cities initiative, and half of those are in China. Recently, actually last year, India recently announced its own smart cities mission, which allocated $14 billion to kickstart 100 smart cities in India. So that's pretty staggering right there. And then globally, cities have spent $81 billion in 2018 on some sort of smart cities initiative. $81 billion. And that is expected to double to about $158 billion by 2022. So the question is, why smart cities? Why are we doing smart cities? According to the UN, 55% of the world's population currently lives in urban areas. That number is expected to rise to about 68% by 2050. Asia expects about 90 million people to move into urban environments by 2030. This influx is going to create significant challenges in cities. There's going to be a shortage of affordable housing. There's going to be a massive strain on infrastructure. There's going to be massive congestion in the streets. To mitigate these risks, smart cities will have to move from a nice to have to a need to have. Okay. So what defines a smart city? The smart city changes from city to city, from country to country. There's many different definitions. So according to the Smart Cities Council, a smart city is a city that uses information and communication technology to enhance its livability, workability, and sustainability. Essentially, smart cities use three simple processes. One, it collects data on the city and how it's being utilized through sensors. Two, it's collecting that data through a wired or wireless network. And three, it analyzes that data to understand how it's going today and then predicting what's going to happen in the future. There we go. To give you an example of what's going on today, this actually gives you a good glance into what we're seeing in the future. We're seeing the rise of co-sharing for cars. So we've got Gojek, we've got Grab, we've got Lyft, you've got Uber, and they're already easing the massive transportation that's out there. Then we also have shared bikes. So we've got Mobike and Ofo that's out there. Now I know there's a lot of debate on that because if you go to Beijing or if you go to Shanghai, you'll see these Mobikes and Ofos are just piled up like 6 feet high. And so that's actually now evolving into e-scooter companies. So in Singapore we've got Beam and we've got Neuron, which is expanding across Southeast Asia. So both of those are also supporting in the shorter transportation modes. Then you also have the rise of food delivery companies, like Food Panda is a great example, or Deliveroo. And so this is actually giving us access to restaurants right to our front door. And then other things like Airbnb and Oyo, which is now easing the demand for hotels. And then you've got Google and Waze, which is supporting or actually mapping our cities. And then you've got, of course, WeWork and Regis's Spaces, which is redefining the way we work and redefining the work environment through co-working spaces. So there's a massive amount of investments going on in prop tech today. There was about $6 billion invested since 2011. And this is a massively rising trend. In 2015, there was an investment of $1.9 billion. There was a rise of by 36% to $2.6 billion. So that just shows you that the investment in prop tech is growing and is growing fast. Globally, the investment in prop tech companies is about $7.8 billion. In Asia, we looked at 179 different prop tech companies. And actually, I know there's a few startup companies here today. And we determined the valuation of those companies. And in Asia, it was about $4.8 billion of the $7 billion. So that's about 60% of the total global investment in prop tech since 2013. So that shows you that Asia is actually leading the way in investment in prop tech. So there's 4 different pillars that are really shaping prop tech that we're seeing today. The first is artificial intelligence. And this is huge in Asia. China is really racing to take the lead in artificial intelligence. Singapore is also now trying to take the lead as well. Alibaba recently set up a AI facility in Singapore. Now, where AI is supporting it's supporting in search engines, it's supporting in image recognition, it's supporting in chatbots, all to automate the real estate processes. The next pillar is blockchain, and we're seeing it in 2 different forms. We're seeing this as one in legal contract documents, and we're also seeing this in cryptocurrencies. So people are already starting to buy properties through Bitcoin. So I know there's a lot of debate on cryptocurrency, but cryptocurrency ultimately allows quicker, it allows cheaper, and allows more efficient transactions. It essentially cuts out the middleman, cuts out the banks, and it allows peer-to-peer transactions. And we're going to see more and more of this in the future. The other advantage of blockchain is that it allows investors access into other markets for both institutional and retail investors. And then the data and Internet of Things, smart cities are gathering lots and lots and lots of data. So there's a big challenge out there about what do we do with all this data. So real estate providers are going to be looking at ways to manipulate that data, to understand and make more informed decisions, whether it's what locations to invest in, what's the appropriate tenant mix they want to do, or how to improve their overall valuation methodologies. And the last one is 3D printing. We're already seeing this in China. In 2015, China printed its first building. So this is really going to affect the construction industry. We're going to start seeing buildings being built better, faster, cheap, more efficient. Cities can't do this alone. So the cities are starting to realize that innovation can't happen by themselves. They can't go out and decide that they're going to create their own smart city. So cities are starting to collaborate and network with each other. Here's a great example is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or Asean, which is a group of 10 members countries. They teamed together and they created the Asean Smart Cities Network. What they're doing is they've allocated 26 pilot cities to work together to a common goal of smart and sustainable urban development. Actually, in Manila is one of the cities as a pilot. So the primary goal is to improve the lives of its citizens using technology as an enabler. And then another great example is the Global Organization of Smart Cities, or GoSmart, shown here. It's led by Taipei City. It's also a global network of smart cities to accelerate sustainable city development. And the network is encouraging international cooperation between cities to develop proof of concept projects. Another example is the JLL Liquid Lab program. This is a program that we set up last year, and this is a co-innovation, co-creation development project. We are teaming up with venture capitalists, we're teaming up with our partners, we're teaming up with suppliers and our clients. And what we're doing is we're identifying what are the challenges that we're seeing out there in the market. And we're focusing anywhere from inside office space to outside of buildings. And we identify what are those challenges, what are the common threads, common themes that all of our clients are seeing. And then we work and we partner together with our different partners, and we co-create to develop a whole new solution. So essentially what we're doing is we're actually creating new startups that focuses on those challenges. So we've anchored the first one in Singapore, and it's actually partnered by the Singapore Economic Development Board. So here is a fireside chat that we had with Dell, with Hayworth, with Human Scale, and actually a startup company called Uhu. And we're talking about what are the current trends that we're working on. So by 2040, we're seeing 7 different real estate trends going forward. The first one is a low carbon economy. And this is really in the wake of the 2015 Paris Climate Accords. Many world economies are looking to the built environment to help support the transition to a low carbon economy. The second one is the technology and innovation, technological innovation, which is completely revolutionizing the way we buy, we sell, and we use and interact with buildings. Some say by 2050, it's estimated that each person will have 25 connected devices. The next one is demographic and workplace challenges, or change. Changing demographic patterns, working practices, and employee expectations are set to transform workplace. By 2040, nearly 1 in 7 residents will be over 75, with many people still active in the workforce still later. And the next one is urbanization, which I touched on earlier. And by 2050, as I mentioned earlier, is over 70% of the population will live in urban areas, increasing demand for homes and city center offices. Health and well-being. Lots of cities are starting to realize that they need to focus on the human aspects. How does the environment support our physical and mental health in fast becoming, in the design and operation of our cities? This is a current trend that we're seeing, and actually by some people actually mentioned by 2025, 1/5 of the world's population will be obese. So this is something that we need to seriously consider. And then land, resource, and scarcity. The development of use of buildings makes up nearly 50% of global resources. So construction, real estate, we are rapidly using the world's resources. Many of the raw materials such as copper are finite and being rapidly depleted. And the last one is transparency and social value. Businesses are increasingly being required not only to provide economic returns, but also demonstrate their social contributions to society. So these are all the trends we're seeing that are going to be taking us into 2040. We recently did a study with all of our clients, all of our corporate clients, and we asked them, what does the city of 2040 look like? And so from that, we actually created a short video. So I actually wanted to show you this. What does a sustainable city look like in 2040? That's the way you can. So wind turbines outside rather than using coal power plants, mixed use space. You'll start seeing more virtual reality going on. Smart bike storage, rather than having them stored on the city streets, you'll see them stored underground. Solar panels on the roofs of buildings and potentially even from the glass windows. We're already seeing living green walls in many of the cities. There's actually a theory that there'll be less demand for hospitals and there'll be more health and wellness centers. And then Amazon is already working on the delivery drones, so you're going to start seeing more delivery drones dropping packages off from door to door. Another great example is the co-working spaces. And then underground urban farms would be another great factor, where we're going to see growing of fruits and vegetables actually underground. And then co-living, you start seeing co-living growing. You've got the We Live, and you've got a couple other co-working companies that are coming out there, or sorry, co-living companies. and then autonomous roads, or autonomous cars. And so I think this is pretty exciting. I think this is actually not too far away, and we're already starting to see many of this. So I hope you guys are actually looking forward to the future, because I know I definitely am.